feel more radiant and more confident and more sexy and walk around just kind of doing our stuff. But the reality is, stress enters our lives, and we don't always know how to wash off what I call the mud of stress that weighs us down and dims our inner radiance. And so on Dr. Andrea and I, we decided we put together an event, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. But first, what we want to do is give you 3 tips to being more confident, sexy, and radiant. And they might be a little different than you think. Because the very first tip doesn't sound overly sexy. It is called stand taller and live longer. I want you to stand there and show me a posture of someone that is not confident. Right? Okay, I just saw everybody slouch. Do you feel radiant?
You feel sexy?
Yeah. Anyone feel sexy like this? Hey, baby. Like, it doesn't really work that way. Now, show me someone, even if this isn't what you feel, show me someone you admire that walks with confidence. I saw everyone straighten up, head's a little taller, arms are back, feeling a little more confident, walking around. Out of curiosity, over the years, I've asked different men, whether it be my partner or a friend, saying, what do you consider the sexiest thing in a woman? And by far, the single most common answer was confidence. Not how skinny we were, not how perfect our teeth are, not about whether we had a bit of a belly or our hair. It was whether or not we carried ourselves with confidence. Now that's on sort of the confidence, the standing tall side, but there's a health side to this. And that's where I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Andrea and let her say, what happens when you go from this to this?
When we talk about posture, everyone knows posture is important. And when I tell people, hey, do you want to have your posture analyzed? The first thing I hear is, oh, I have bad posture. But what does actual bad posture mean? So when you are doing that, okay, so when you're doing, okay, that's maybe a little too much. Okay, so when your posture is forward, here's what happens. Your shoulders roll forward, which means your head comes forward. What is keeping your head from hanging? It's the muscles in the back of your neck. Where do you think neck pain and headaches come from? All right, so the muscles, cell phone, computers, reading, cooking, breastfeeding, it's all forward action. So what happens is this position causes extra pain in through here because these muscles are constantly activated. So have you ever had that burning pain in the back? That's partly because of what's going on here. So the other thing that happens is when you are caving forward, there's not enough space in your lungs. So now we're talking about breathing problems, we're talking about COPD, we're talking about asthma. There's not enough room for the lungs to expand. You have to open up to give your lungs the room they need. The other thing that happens is when you go down like this, there's no room for your belly. Your stomach doesn't have enough room to digest food. Have you ever had acid reflux? Right? When you're doing this, there's no room. So now everything that normally has this space has this space. So you have to open up. Posture is not just about how you look, it's how your body's functioning. When your head is forward, what is stopping you from falling forward? Your back. It's constantly activated. Do you want to come in my office and see me because you have back pain? Fix your posture. That'll make a big difference. The other thing that happens is as you're coming forward, it's causing tightness in the back of your legs. Tight hamstrings cause low back pain. So posture is huge. It's not just, again, about, how you look. So, and here's the biggest one. When you're doing this, guess what happens to your boobs? Right? You want to talk about sagging boobs? You can lift your boobs by
Present the girls.
You can lift your boobs by 50% just by standing taller. Now, here's the thing, though. If you were like this, as my dad said, stick your shoulders back. But if you do this, you still have issues. The idea is to look at putting a brooch. Think of the heart of diamond, that huge one from the Titanic. That should be the first thing people see. So when you're doing this, the idea is not this, but it's this. That's different. You're pulling from here up. It's not just about pulling your shoulders back. Okay? So that is the biggest one. So we put some of the basic ones on there, but it's really, if you want to feel more confident, more sexy, you have to pull yourself up. So the two biggest tips is pay attention to making sure you present this first, and you want to pretend that you have something pulling, that you're lifting up from here. So in order to help you, we're going to do stretches. So the easiest stretch is that one. So you can do it in a door frame. Yeah, it's my wonderful model. So you can do it in a door frame. So you just step in and you hold at least 20 to 30 seconds. You've got to let the muscles let go. The other thing you can do is what's called the Liza Minnelli. So I'm assuming she must have sang that way. Arms to the side, thumbs back, squeeze your shoulder blades back, and look up to the sky, right? That needs to happen not once a day. If you spend 8 hours like this, doing this once a day won't even touch it. You have to find a way of putting it throughout your whole day. Every hour on the hour, have your phone do a little tiny ding, just to remind you to look up and stretch.
Let's get everyone to do that. Can you put your arms out?
Here we go. Arms out, thumbs back, because it opens up the pec wall. I know, with the drinks. Squeeze your shoulder blades back. You want to feel like you're pinching a pencil between your shoulder blades. Head look up. You got to open up and count to 10, 10 to 20. That needs to happen at least 10 times a day.
That's incredible. Do you have another slide?
Yes.
So just show
Okay, so this is what I see as a chiropractor. You see someone's head coming forward. I see what's going on inside the spine. When that spine starts coming straight, so if you notice the one closest to the wall, it has this nice curve. Your neck was designed to have a nice curve. If you look at the one closest to me, the curve has straightened. What happens when the curve straightens, your neck goes this way. Guess what starts developing? Right, that dowager's hump, the one that all the women are drastically trying to get rid of. You do not have to live with that.
Sexy.
Not sexy. Not sexy at all, and you do not have to live with that. There are things you can do to change that, but you have to do it constantly and at the beginning. Not once it's developed and now it's like, oh yeah, I have this hump. It's never too late to change your posture.
That is amazing. I just want to highlight that.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I hear often is people just say, well, this is how I am. And if there's anything that we want to instill in all of you today, is no matter how you are physically, you can improve. It doesn't matter how old you are. 85-year-old people that are struggling, if they do the right exercises under the right supervision, can shift their bodies and be healthier than when they were even younger. Andreas showed me an x-ray once of a man, I think he was 75, looked amazing, 55-year-old like this. It's not how old we are, but how we care for our bodies.
Okay.
Now, our next tip is what we call radiant sleep, because we talk about beauty sleep, of course, but radiant sleep, because we're talking about our radiance. Sleep is one of the single greatest factors on how well and how healthily we age. So if you can take a moment and you're willing, close your eyes. Imagine yourself sleeping. Are you in a comfortable bed? Are you on your tummy or your back? Are you on your side? Are you feeling luxuriously restful, or are you tossing and turning and your mind is going a mile a minute? Now take a moment to just imagine yourself waking up. Are you bouncing out of bed going, I am ready to take on the day? Or are you sliding out of bed, slouching your feet down to drink your first cup of coffee? If you're doing the latter and you want to do what I was talking about with the energy, let's take a few tips from Dr. Andrea again.
Okay, so we're going to talk about sleeping ergonomics, right? So the first and foremost, who sleeps on their belly? Come on, fess up.
Any belly sleepers?
Any belly sleepers? Okay.
Only one.
So that's impressive. Never, ever, 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 ever sleep on your belly. Belly sleepers always have neck pain and headaches. Always. Not maybe, not right now, but at some point they will always develop that and they will end up in my office. The easiest way to fix that is don't sleep on your belly. Second is when you sleep on your side, that's what you need to look like. So when you're sleeping on your side, you have to pay attention to your pillow. It is super important. Nose needs to be lined up with the center of your chest. If you're sleeping and your pillow is too thin, your head tips down. If you're sleeping and you're on two pillows, your head's doing the opposite direction. Right? So now the spine is not rested. Now the muscles have to contract. Now everything is not in that restful place where when you go to wake up in the morning, you're not rested. When you're lying on your back, it's the same idea. Ear has to be lined up with your shoulder. If your pillow is too thick, if your pillow is too thin, same idea. That's where those contour pillows have come into play. The problem with the contour pillows is a lot of times you have to make sure you are sized properly. A one-size-fit-all contour pillow does not work for everyone. One of the reasons I really recommend the water pillow is because you put the amount of water in that's good for you. If you're petite, you need a little bit of water. If you're very broad-shouldered, you need a lot more water. End of having to buy 25 different pillows to find the right one. You play around with the amount of water.
That's fantastic. So that's the ergonomics of it. And I think you were going to give everyone a challenge to go home, lie down on your pillow, and decide whether or not your head's headed the right direction. And if it's not, I know that one of the tricks that I learned is if you really like your pillow and it's too flat, you can actually fold a towel and get it right underneath to get it right to the right, or get measured properly. But part of lack of sleep is overwhelm. Right? One of the things that both Dr. Andrea and I notice in our clinics is that when people come in to see us, they are in overwhelm. Their bodies are exhausted, and they're constantly going back and forth between I want to be happy and I want all this is good in my life, but I'm exhausted from everything going on in my life and I'm taking on so much. So our third tip is some ways to overcome overwhelm. There are many ways, and if you personally are dealing with overwhelm, that could be severe stress and not knowing how to calm. Maybe you're going through a divorce. It might be severe grief, but whatever it is that you're carrying in your system, eventually it will make you sick. The bottom line is if you have uncontrolled chronic stress, you will be sick if you're not already. So a great way to deal with overwhelm and calm the system is what we call square breathing. So back over to you, Andrea.
Okay, so the reason square breathing is so important is because you have to calm down your system. So think of stress as a bear coming after you. We have one way to deal with stress, and that's your fight or flight system. That's it. That's all we got. Whether it's a bear, whether it's emotional, whether it's chemical, that is how we deal with stress. So if a bear's coming at you, you're either going to get strong enough to fight off the bear, or you're going to run like crazy. But at some point, that bear goes away. And all the systems that got heightened in that sympathetic response where your muscles get stronger and everything is properly tuned up to react to this bear, when the bear goes away, you go into what's called a parasympathetic response, which now is your healing, your sleeping, your digesting. When you're in the sympathetic, you are 100% geared towards defending yourself against that bear. You're not really, your body's not designed to eat, right? So if you talk about heartburn when you're stressed out, because your body's geared up to fight. If you're fighting and now all of a sudden you're eating, your body's going to go, what are you doing? Like, this doesn't make sense. Why are you eating? We're trying to defend our life against this bear. So when stress comes at you, it's like the bear comes and he puts his arm around your shoulder. And now your body's defending itself 24/7 against this bear, and it never goes away, right? So it's like putting the brake and the gas at the same time. You're not going anywhere, but your car's falling apart, right? So when she talked about us getting sick, that's how you get sick. So you can't always change what is coming at you. You can't always change the stress in your life, but you can change how you react to it. And that's where that square breathing comes. So, yeah. So when you are stressed out, we breathe very shallow, right? It's our way of protecting ourselves and defending against the world. To change the way you breathe tricks your body into believing it's not as stressed as what it thinks it is. Because to breathe like that does not make sense if you're running away from a bear. So
It's what I used to get through last night of getting all these booths set up. And it really does work. So can you lead us through it?
Yeah, sure. So let's do it very simply. We're just going to envision a square in your mind's eye. Each side of the square is going to be a count of 4, and you're going to do the square 4 times. Makes it really super easy. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is we're going to breathe in for 4. Now hold for 4. The bottom of your breath, breathe it out for 4. And now hold it for 4. Now, does that not feel a whole lot different? And that's all we did was 1, right? We go from this and talking and going, and all of a sudden to just, and it's the holding patterns that are the most important part, because you have to stop. You got to hold and you got to just stop. And then as you breathe back out, and then you hold at the bottom so that you're ready to breathe back up again. Does that make sense?
This not only calms your system, it will energize it. One more time, just use your hand, because when you use something physical, you'll embody it more. And so just hold your hand up and just go with us, and breathe in and out through your nose if it's possible. Do you want to lead us through?
Yep. So we're going to slowly breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. So here's a trick. If you're at work and your work is really stressed out, or if you're on the computer a lot, get a sticky note. A little square sticky note, stick it everywhere. Every time you see that sticky note, it reminds you to do your square breathing. No one has to know what you're doing. Put it in your car. Yeah. Every time you're at a red light, do your square breathing. Because here's the thing. If you are stressed out and you are riding this high, it does hardly take anything to get you over the edge. That's when you get headaches, you get breakdowns, you can't sleep, you have pain. Everything keeps knocking. If you're breathing and you're bringing it down, and the stress is coming up and you're breathing, and the stress is coming up and you're breathing, you're not ever hitting that high end where your body just says, enough is enough, I can't deal with this. Exactly. That's why you have to find a way to put it in. Here's the other trick. Square breathe. Right? So when you're stretching,
that's
do
smart.
Your breathing. No, so we're not
so
asking
take
tons.
20 seconds to stretch and breathe at the same time.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Perfect.
Now, I'd like to touch base though, because in reality, people, you must be sitting there going, but sometimes I'm in the heat of the moment, and I'm not going to suddenly go, all right, let's all square breathe. Like that is when you're on your own. That is a maintenance. But what I want to do is give you a quick trick that will help you if you're in the moment. And when I say in the moment, it could be the heat of a moment of an argument. Maybe you're so stressed you're actually having a fight with someone. But most likely, the heat of the moment is your arguments happening in here. Anyone know what I mean? Anyone heard of the itty bitty shitty committee in their brain? Okay, raise your hand, big high. Because I want to see, like almost everybody at some point in time has that wheel going around in their brain, and they're in stress and what's going on. And what we need is something called either a pattern reset or a pattern interrupt. And basically, what you're doing to your system is saying, stop! Now that startled you, but that's what you want to do to yourself. You want to startle it out of that craziness. So there's different ways. I don't really recommend in a crowded room that you scream, stop. But you can say it in your head. You could. But another way is click your fingers. Everyone raise their hand real high. Do a click. You train yourself, practice on your own, saying, stop. And that's when, if you can enter into the square breathing, do it. But at least stop it and choose. Now, after we speak, a little later this afternoon, Suze Casey is going to be up here. And she does an incredible job with what we call belief reparenting and helping you flip from negative thinking to positive thinking. And it's one of the modalities and techniques that I use within my clinic. So Brilliant Light Wellness. If you are in overwhelm, I highly recommend that you see a professional, whether you go to a chiropractor because you have aches and pains going on, or you come to me and we help a little bit more on the mind and getting your body into that relax.
So Joanna and I have partnered up because we see the benefit of combining mind, body, and spirit. It's really about combining everything. I come from it, as you've noticed, more on the health side of why you need to do stuff. And Joanne comes more on the side of how to integrate it into your life, how to bring down the stress, how does it all blend together. And we thought it'd be a really good idea to connect the two of us.
Our greatest joy is watching people take off that mud, take off that stress, and really shine your greatest radiance and brilliant light. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, you guys. Big round of applause
Thank you,
for
Andre.
Joanne and Dr.